1977 was a year when disco was trying to take over, but rock refused to go down without a fight. Let's go. Let's kick things off with the hard rockin' sisters. Heart with Barracuda. Released in 1977, this track came out swinging with a riff so sharp it could cut glass. Now, I know some of you might have heard the sanitized version about how this song was inspired by record label sleazeballs, but let me tell you, there's more to this story. Ann Wilson, the powerhouse behind those vocals, was dealing with some serious sexist BS in the industry. We're talking rumors that would make your grandmother blush and your teenage son Google some very unsavory things. These sisters from Seattle weren't just another pretty face in the rock scene. Ann and Nancy Wilson were kicking down doors and taking names in a male-dominated industry. They were like the Amazons of rock. And let me tell you, they had to fight twice as hard to get half the respect. Here's a fun fact for you. That iconic guitar riff was not inspired by a galloping horse. Nancy Wilson came up with it after listening to Crazy on You, played at the wrong speed. Talk about happy accidents, eh? Next up, we've got Feels Like the First Time by Foreigner. This track hit the airwaves in 1977 and climbed the charts faster than a teenager sneaking out of his girlfriend's window at 2 a.m. Now, I know what you're thinking. Another love song? This isn't your grandson's auto-tuned whining about his Instagram crush. This is raw, unadulterated rock emotion. Foreigner was a supergroup before the term was even coined. You had Brits and Yanks coming together like some sort of rock and roll United Nations. Mick Jones, the mastermind behind the band, had already made waves with Spooky Tooth. Here's something that'll blow your mind. Feels Like the First Time was actually Foreigner's first single. Talk about setting the bar high, huh? These guys were messing around. Let's keep this train rolling with Heartbreak by Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers. This song dropped in 1977 and proved that you don't need fancy production or guitar solos that last longer than your average marriage to make a killer track. This song is stripped down, bare bones rock and roll that hits you right in the gut. Now, Tom Petty. There's a guy who knew how to write a song. He wasn't some pretty boy manufactured by a record label. Nah, Petty was the real deal. A scrappy kid from Florida who clawed his way to the top with nothing but talent and a bad attitude. Wanna know something wild? Breakdown almost didn't make it onto American radio. It took a DJ in Ohio playing the full album version for people to realize what they were missing. All right, folks, we've just taken a trip through 3 iconic tracks from 77. Now, I want to hear from you. What's your favorite memory associated with these songs? Share it in the comments below. Moving on, we've got Don't Stop by Fleetwood Mac. This little number hit the airwaves in 1977 and became an anthem for optimists and divorcees everywhere. Now, I know what you're thinking. Isn't this the song Clinton used for his campaign? Yes, it is, but don't hold that against it. This track has more drama behind it than your average soap opera. Fleetwood Mac wasn't just a band. They were a soap opera set to music. You had breakups, makeups, and enough tension to power a small city. Christine McVie wrote this song about her split from John McVie while they were still in the band together. Can you imagine that? It's like going through a messy divorce, but still having to show up to family dinners every holiday. Here's a tidbit that'll make you scratch your head. Despite being about a breakup, Don't Stop became a feel-good hit. The song's so catchy, you almost forget you're dancing to someone else's relationship problems. Next on our hit parade is 2 Out of 3 Ain't Bad by Meatloaf. This power ballad crashed onto the scene in 1977 like a bat out of hell. See what I did there? Now, I know some of you might dismiss Meatloaf as theatrical fluff, but let me tell you, this song's got more layers than your grandma's lasagna. Meatloaf could belt out a tune with passion, and Jim Steinman was the mastermind behind the lyrics. This dynamic duo was like the Batman and Robin of rock opera. If Batman wore sequined jumpsuits and Robin wrote lyrics that made English teachers weep. Here's a fun fact that'll knock your socks off. The phrase 2 out of 3 ain't bad came from Steinman's father. Apparently, the old man used to say it all the time. It's like your dad's terrible jokes, but instead of making you groan, they turned into chart-topping hits. Pfft, who knew? Rounding out our second trio of songs is Baby Come Back by Player. This smooth operetta slid onto the charts in late 77 and carried its mojo right into 78. Now, I know what you're thinking. Isn't this a bit soft for your usual fare? But hold your horses, hoss. This track's got more game than a Vegas casino. Player might sound like a bunch of pretty boys, but these guys had serious chops. Peter Beckett and J.C. Crowley were like the Lennon and McCartney of soft rock. They crafted a song so catchy, it could make a nun tap her foot. Want to hear something that'll make you spit out your beer? Baby Come Back was inspired by a real breakup, but not Beckett's. He wrote it about Crowley's split from his girl. Talk about bromance goals, huh? All right, music maniacs, it's time for another pit stop. We just cruised through 3 more classics from 1977, and I want to hear your take. Which of these songs was the ultimate makeup or breakup song for you? Share your stories in the comments. I know you got them. Now, let's class things up a little bit with You're in My Heart by Rod Stewart. This little number sashayed onto the scene in 1977. Proven that Rod could do sensitive just as well as he could do sexy. But don't let the smooth sound fool you. This track's got more bite than your average love song. Rod was the real deal, a bona fide rock star who could party with the best of them and still show up to lay down tracks that would make your mother swoon. He was like the James Bond of rock, suave, sophisticated, and always ready with a cheeky one-liner. Here's a tidbit that'll raise your eyebrows. Stewart initially wrote this song about his love for football. Yeah, you heard that right. It's like writing a love letter to your wife and realizing halfway through that you're actually describing your favorite recliner. Somehow, it still worked. Shifting gears, let's talk about Margaritaville by Jimmy Buffett. This laid-back tune floated onto the airwaves in 1977 and has been the unofficial anthem of day drinking ever since. Now, I know some of you might dismiss this song as nothing more than a novelty song, but let me tell you, there's more to this track than just salt and tequila. Jimmy Buffett isn't just a singer, he's a lifestyle guru. This guy turned getting wasted on a beach into a multi-million-dollar empire. He's like the love child of Jack Sparrow and Warren Buffett. Here's a fun fact that'll make you spill your margarita. The frozen concoction maker mentioned in the song, it wasn't a blender. It was actually a machine called a margarita machine that Buffett's friend had in his restaurant. It's like the holy grail of party equipment. Let's slow things down a little bit with Dust in the Wind by Kansas. Dust in the Wind. It was released in 1977 as part of their album Point of No Return. Unlike the band's usual progressive rock sound, this song is a simple acoustic ballad that struck a deep chord with listeners. It was a huge departure from Kansas's usual sound, but it became one of their most enduring hits. Kansas feared it might not resonate with their rock-heavy fan base. However, the song's simplicity ended up being its greatest strength. The message? Life is fragile, and we're all just dust in the wind. Want to hear something that'll blow your mind? The iconic guitar line in Dust in the Wind started as a finger-picking exercise. Sometimes, greatness comes from the most unexpected places. And now, let's close out our list with a bang. Cat Scratch Fever by Ted Nugent. This hard rockin' track clawed its way up the charts in 1977, proving that rock and roll still had plenty of fire in its belly. Now, I know old Ted's got a reputation these days that's more controversial than a vegan at a barbecue, but let's focus on the music, shall we? Nugent played his guitar like he was wrestling an alligator, all raw power and primal energy. He was like the Tarzan of rock, if Tarzan traded his loincloth for leather pants and his yell for face-melting guitar solos. Here's a little tidbit that'll make you raise an eyebrow. Despite its, shall we say, suggestive lyrics, Cat Scratch Fever was inspired by an actual medical condition. And there you have it, 10 tracks that prove 1977 was a year when music still had real teeth. From Heart's Rebellion to Nugent's Feline Frenzy, we've covered the spectrum of what made rock great. These artists weren't afraid to take risks, to pour their hearts out on vinyl, to sing about everything from mythical sea creatures to the fleeting nature of existence. So, the next time your kids or grandkids try to tell you about the latest flash-in-the-pan pop star, you just sit them down and give them an earful of 1977. Show them what real music sounds like. If you enjoyed this, like, comment, and subscribe, and share with your 70s friends to reminisce about old times. Next up, we're going to 1978. See you there.